So what are some of the next steps in the judiciary's technology roadmap?
Oh,
And,
great. We
yes,
have...
particularly concerning remote hearings and the digitization of court services.
We have great plans. First of all, we are consolidating those gains that we have achieved this far by bringing efficiency, not only in the e-filing, virtual courts, and the courts side of work, but also in the administration. We are now introducing the ERP that brings efficiency in terms of our financial management, our human resource management. How do we factor in all the aspects of the human resource, the payroll, the leaves, the number of people in the stations vis-a-vis the amount of work, tracking the performance of each member of staff. What are they doing? Are they meeting their targets on a daily basis? On my portal, for instance, on my dashboard, I'm able to log in any court and see what is happening and get information, even globally at the end of the day, how many cases were filed on that day, how many cases were adjourned on that day, and I can go straight to the court and find out even the reasons why the cases are being adjourned. So we are moving. We have not reached where we want to reach. We are still working. It is still work in progress.
Thank you so much. Now, on specialized courts, one, they reflect the progressive approach towards specific social issues, and especially in Kenya. So could you share your perspectives on the impact of specialized courts and the impact that they've had on the judicial efficiency and public confidence in the system?
Yeah, specialization comes out of the needs of the society, and like you have rightly put it, because of the specific socio-economic needs of the society. That's how we started with the specialization, first of all, of the commercial courts, realizing that commerce is central. It is imperative that we resolve commercial disputes expeditiously so that we can encourage more enterprise and more commercial activities and more investors to come to this country. They must have confidence that if they have a dispute, it will be resolved expeditiously. So we set up the commercial division, and the commercial division now, I think, is being duplicated in big stations. When you go to Mombasa, I think you'll find there's a commercial division. Nakuru there is, and according to the needs of the society. So that is one. When it comes to gender-based violence or sexual gender-based violence, you realize that this problem is endemic. It is simply not going away, because Kenyans thought when they enacted in 2006 the Sexual Offences Act, which is a very tough law, it will actually deter the perpetrators of sexual violence, but it hasn't. We have many cases of sexual violence involving women, involving children, a lot of them involving children, including boys. There's a lot of sodomy going on. Nobody's safe. And therefore, we reflected as the judiciary and realized that because of the statistics that we have, the data that we have, this is a problem that requires a specialized court. And why the specialized court? Because the cases will now be fast-tracked. We started it as a pilot in Chanzu, where we had one magistrate hearing those sexual gender-based violence. Within 2 years, the court did well to expedite those cases, but the magistrates burnt out, the trauma of listening to gory stories of how a child was molested, how the child was defiled. Some of them so badly that they had to do surgeries because you don't know what is the front or the back. So that magistrate, we had to rescue her because she was burning out. After now rehabilitating her for almost a year, she's ready now maybe to go back to court. But she had to be removed from the court work to do now administrative work as a deputy registrar so that she can recover from that trauma. So because we have been doing this work closely with the Association of Women Judges, who are very, very passionate about gender-based violence, we continued asking ourselves how best these cases can be handled. And it turned out that we can actually have this model administered differently by opening a registry for SGBV, where the files are also color-coded and the staff are trained. Those cases of SGBV, we were advised even to change the name because they had started even using very derogatory terms to refer to the SGBV courts. They were calling it Koti Angono, Koti, it was really bad. People didn't want even to go to that court. So we renamed the court Gender Justice Court. Now we have 11 of them under this model where it is a registry. Then the court designates, depending on the number of days and the number of magistrates, the volume of work, the days that those cases are being heard. It could be Monday and Tuesday for that particular magistrate. No other case is on our course list or his course list. It's those cases. The prosecutors are trained to come with all the witnesses, and we have seen the turnaround period reduce from almost 3 years to 6 months. We have 11 of these courts in what was identified as hotspots, where there were many, many cases. And with the resources allowing us, we hope we can have a gender justice court in all the court stations where there are many cases of SGBV. So the other specialized court is of course the Children's Court. As you know, I'm very, very passionate about children. I am a firm believer that children belong to schools, they belong to families, they should be in the playgrounds, but not hanging around in the court corridors. You can imagine yourself when you were a child, if you ended up in court, would you be who you are today? So this is why we have trained ourselves in the judiciary to look at that child who is in conflict with the law or in contact with the law as your own child or as your own self, and ask yourself, what would be the best interest of the child? The best interest of the child is to be diverted, not to come to court and be dealt with at the community. And we are working with the probation under these many models that multi-door approach to justice to see to it that every nyumba kumi as a system that looks after children. If you have a child who is delinquent, who is not going to school, please don't wait for that child to be arrested by the police. You as the community, as the family, you should find out what is the root cause of the child who is not going to school. What is the reason for this child who is not going to school, and deal with it, because at the end of it, you must deal with it as a family or as a community. It's your duty to resolve it.
Thank you. So what criteria do you use to determine if you are to establish new ones?
Data is what informs us. We are completely data-driven in everything that we do, including recruitment, including the establishment of the courts, including the hiring of staff. It is all data-driven. So the successes of these courts are also measured by the number of cases. If in a particular court station we realize you have 3,000 cases of SGBP, then we have established the court, and we are seeing that every month, so many cases are being concluded. That is how we measure success. Yeah.
And now, my lady, you as a Chief Justice, are there other areas you consider ripe for specialization in Kenya's judiciary, especially within our justice landscape?
Yes, we also have specialization in serious crimes, especially the counter-terrorism, serious crimes of, cross-border crimes, piracy, money laundering. That's another frontier, because the world has become a global village, and you cannot be successful as a country alone, because you also become a route for trafficking, trafficking in people, all manner of trafficking. So we have established 2 specialized courts to deal with those kinds of crimes in Chanzu and in Kawa. The other now specialization would be the division of those serious crimes by establishing a High Court division that deals with appeals from those cases. So specialization will continue as we move on, and as the exigencies of work and the challenges of the day dictates.
Thank you so much. And now, on the institutional human capital training of the judiciary,
Yeah.
Institutional capacity is very critical
in
the effectiveness of the judiciary. So how is the judiciary working to secure adequate funding, especially given the competing national priorities?
That is the big elephant in the room today, because the judiciary is completely constrained with the resources. For instance, the number of judges are very low. The establishment, for instance, the High Court is 200 judges, but we have 96 now. There were 98, recently. Unfortunately, we lost 2 senior and working judges, and that is such a dent in the establishment. For the magistracy, the establishment is 1,200. We have only 570 in place. And the rate of attrition is very high. We know we are losing. Last week we lost 2. Then others are retiring. So we need to constantly, Court of Appeal, the establishment is 70. We only have 29. A few of them are retiring very soon, and when you are almost retiring, you have 2 years or 1 year or a few months, you focus on your retirement. You focus on finishing the work that you have already done and not taking new matters. So we are really short in terms of the human resource capital. As you recall, before June, I think July, we had set to interview Court of Appeal judges. But because of the budget cut, because of the cancellation of the repeal of the Finance Act 2004, whereby the budget of the judiciary was reduced by almost 30%, and even as it was being reduced at 30%, you know, our budget requests was honored at 49%. We had asked for 43%, 43 billion, but we were allocated 22 billion. So out of that, it was also reduced with 30%. So we wondered whether we'll be able actually to recruit these judges of the Court of Appeal that we were intending to recruit. So we decided to pause and see how we are going to manage. But it has reached a stage where we actually have to bite the bullet and continue with the recruitment. We have a shortage of magistrates, a huge one, because they are also like 44% out of the establishment. We cannot deliver service like that. We have to continue with the recruitment. And it goes on and on, including now the other support staff, you know, court assistants, secretaries, they are also required.